Hey, what's up, family? How's everybody doing this evening? Woo, we made it. We made it. We made it. Let me didn't even wipe my camera off there. Oh, it's so good to see you in the room, in the space. Hopefully you can hear me here. Bring the microphone a little closer. Yeah. Let's see who's in the room. Who's in the room? Yes, yes. This is going to be good, guys. We're talking about from trauma to triumph and how we can use technology. From AI to our own self within ourself, as ourself. We are special human beings. It's time for us to wake up, realize, understand that it is our time. Let's see here. Yes, sir. Everybody in the room, just bring a little movement. Make sure you like and share. Like and share. The comments are full. I know we'll get roughly 20, 30 people to this evening. We appreciate you guys. Let me get the old Instagram working here. Yes, Mr. Christopher, we appreciate you. You're always in the room. Everybody see from Michigan, Brother Christopher is always here. Love you, bro. You mean so much. I appreciate you. You are you're the man showing up here. We appreciate you. And we have, yes, Miss Lorraine, all the way from New York. We see you. We recognize you in the space and in the room this evening. This thing, okay, there we go. We see you up in the room, Mr. Let's see, we got George. Yes. We love our Chicago, Chicago at the Crossroads documentary that I was a producer on, Chicago at the Crossroads. It is on Amazon Prime, on YouTube. And we have Mother White from Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's good to see you, Mother White. Let Instagram. Hey, Instagram, everybody that's on live here on Instagram. Talking about from trauma to triumph. Trauma to triumph this evening. Let everybody know. All right. Instagram, I have to do a little different so they could see what's going on. Mr. George, we thank you so much, Mr. George, that's in here. Everybody see here. Miss Deidre, you are one of the loyalists here to support Brother John. I speak with him every week. Brother John Thomas, he is an awesome person. And the writing coach, the coach of coaches, the coach of all people, Miss Dorothy. Yes, this is beautiful. She's tuning in from Maryland. It's not Maryland, right? Miss Gloria. Yes. Miss Carolyn. Yes, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. We have people here that are stopping through on Instagram. Thank you, Instagram followers, as you stop through. You guys are completely 100% appreciate it. We're going to pin that comment. We're going to flip this thing around and we're going to get this ball rolling. Anybody ready to have this week? And this week, I think I had another trauma to triumph, but this one I want to blend a little bit. And I don't want to just talk about our own traumas and things that we deal with as the main talking point. That's just something that I believe we can all experience. And the way we're going to start this off, as I normally do through my investigating, is we need to get a better understanding of, of, of what trauma is so we can recognize it in our lives. We can understand like what trauma means and what it is, and how we can identify these things, because what happens is a lot of times you will go to a psychologist or a person that studies psychology, a therapist, right? We got counselors, therapists, social workers who can actually have the licensing and credentials to actually work with an individual that wants to work on their lives, their brain, their behaviors, right? We all have mental behaviors. We all have behaviors, right? Things that we do, things that we might want to not do or get rid of, ultimately to get closer to our higher self. Tinley Park. I think Ruben was close. If I'm not I'm thinking Ruben is from there. Um, but I appreciate you guys this evening for coming through. And I got a bonus. I didn't really talk about the bonus. I want you to know that there's a gentleman that was on Bishop Carlton Pearson's show with me. His name is Keith Giles, and Keith Giles is the author of many books, but he has one book right now, currently on Amazon, that is doing extremely well. I wanted to bring this up so you guys know we have some wonderful shows that I'm preparing. And if we come over here and look, I want you to make sure you see this: The Quantum Sayings of Jesus. You see that? That book has been floating. It has been floating as the number one in spirituality. This is a top book. It's been floating as the number one book on Amazon for spirituality, mysticism, Christianity. But this book right here is doing really well. So I'm sure he may end up doing signed copies. But if you want to pick this book up and start looking at this book, he's going to be on the show June 13th. Yes. He's going to be on the show June 13th. And this book here, The Quantum Sayings of Jesus, Decoding the Lost Gospels of Thomas, it goes on to say, I believe it's on record to say that the Gospel of Thomas is one of the best Gospels out there ever. So we're going to prepare for him. And July 27th, I have another young man that is going to be here, and his name is Caesar. And he is he's spoken at the UN. He is from Cameroon by the way of, but he lives in Canada and he was raised in Paris. And I've seen him on a religious trauma certification that John Thomas was doing. And it is, he did Black, his thing, I was going to type it in, but he did Black religious trauma, and he knows, he's done a lot of research for colonization and what happened with the African and the Black person throughout the whole entire globe. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a talk that he did on the UN, to the UN, and so this is going to be a huge show. That's June 27th. We have Mr. Hayward, another person, the Naked Pastor. He's coming back. I'm planning, and we have some good stuff coming, guys. I'm telling you, like, phenomenal. Like, literally, this is something that these shows are going to be so amazing, because you're going to be able to get the insight of people that have history and authorship and research. And I mean, these are some major people. But anyways, let's move on to this show as we talk about transforming, and we go from trauma to triumph. And really, if I wanted to really pinpoint this and rephrase it, it would be transforming trauma in the age of technology, in the age of AI, embracing the spirituality and community. That's what this is about. This is something that is just, I have these unctions, and I know it gets deep. I know it gets deep. I had this meme that I found today, and it talks about, and the meme mentioned, I don't know if I can find that clip or that meme that was there. But it's a meme that actually showed consciousness, it showed spirituality, and it showed religion. And later, I think I'll show you that, because it's really neat, because it's how everything is kind of bottled up. Ultimately, we want to experience this expansion of consciousness that is. And how do we do that? How do we get there? So I am thrilled to have you guys this evening as we deep dive into this topic and the effects on all of us, trauma as it impacts the lives, and how can we overcome it, especially when in this rapidly developing age of artificial intelligence, and as we see war, and we see genocide, and we see all of these things that seem that we're in America here, we're in this election year that seems to, it seems like we're going backwards, but what it is we have, um, within us, we have the DNA structure of past lives. Follow me. We have the DNA structure of our ancestors. We are the ancestors that are still alive, living. And so in this age, we could see the deep advancements, deep, crazy advancements. And there's going to be some hard transition that happens. Follow me, please. You might get some pen and paper and some notes, because there's going to be a little bit of channeling. I haven't really come out in public and tell people that I do. Most people probably already assume it and know that I channel. And channeling is just when you practice, and you go into deep meditation in self. Sometimes it is just through gifts that you have, and so therefore you move yourself out of the way. Some deep channels, Abraham Hicks and Bashar, and those are the people that have turned their channeling, and they're really good channels, and they turned it into pretty unique, um, pretty unique plays, if you will. Very unique. But anyways, we're going to explore these transformative roles within spirituality and the community and healing, and not just talk about trauma, but just move into the higher self. And so let's just get a understanding on what is trauma and how the body keeps the score. Right? I want you to I know I talk about this, I think, a lot. I really want us to be able to connect to this, and connect to our lives, and connect to our experience and our expression. So as we set intention, that is, sometime you can stand up and you can move your body around, move your neck around, right? Shake your fingers and hands, right? If I ever get to the point of retreat, that's one of the things that we always start, and we'll do some dancing and moving, move your body around as we set intention, taking deep breaths, slowing down the breath, preparing the body, preparing the mind, and ultimately preparing the heart to receive what's for you. I don't speak as myself for just myself from the knowledge of myself, but I speak for us. Everything that I have come upon in me as me and works through me. Trauma is deeply distressing. It could be disturbing, and it could be an experience that significantly affects our mental, emotional, and physical well being. It can stem from various sources, such as personal loss. It can stem from accidents and abuse, which a lot of us have experienced, but our brains tend to play it out. But right now, we can experience the global events like the recent pandemic that we have all endured. Trauma impacts our relationships, our work, overall, the sense of self. When we really didn't know who or what self is, we're just now getting to the point where we can talk about the self. Because everything, especially in spiritual but religious spaces, always put the higher self or the God factor or something that is not within us. There's a difference between something within us or as us. Because some people, when it comes to the higher self, and when we start talking about going within, with they think we're talking about the ego mind. They think we're talking about the me, but we're talking about the we, the oneness. The effects of trauma can be long lasting all the way up until our older age. But now we're going to look at ways, and we're going to work together in the essence of the spirit to release some of these things in our lives, and knowing what happens when we don't. How many of you out there ever have dealt with or understand anxiety? I have. I've had hospitalization level anxiety. When your body begins to tell you what it wants to do, when your body and your mind begins to make your body do things that you feel like you have no control over. It can also lead to depression and PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. Another thing that you might not have heard of, but it's called complex CPTSD. A lot of people that deal with religious trauma may deal with CPTSD, complex. These conditions can severely impact our lives, the quality of your life. And you can wonder why things don't seem to go right for you, the behaviors and the patterns that you may take and the things that you may do. And you wonder why it doesn't seem like it's working for you. It could be things that make it difficult to move forward in life. But it's important to remember that while trauma can be devastating, healing is possible. Everybody still with me? Miss Deidre says depression and anxiety are cousins. Brother Juan says, hey, Yes. Brother Christopher says, I can relate in that my grandparents are much alive within me. When we start speaking of, my glasses are being silly. When we start thinking and speaking of what's in the body. So let's 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 brief and ask and see what the experts have to say about this religious trauma.
Is that there's a difference between trauma and stress. As I like to say to people, life sucks a good amount of the time. We all have jobs and situations that are really unpleasant. But the moment that situation is over, it's over. The problem with trauma is that when it's over, your body continues to relive it. My name is Bessel van der Kolk. I'm a psychiatrist, neuroscientist, and author of the book, The Body Keeps the Score. I got interested in trauma on my first day working at the Veterans Administration. 1978 was the year, and the Vietnam War was over by about 6 or 7 years. The very first day that I met Vietnam veterans, I was just blown away. These were guys who were my age, who were clearly smart and competent and athletic, and they clearly were just a shadow of their former self. Their bodies were clearly affected by trauma, and they had a very hard time connecting with new people after the war. Around that time, a group of us started to define what trauma is. And in the definition of PTSD, we write, these people have been exposed to an extraordinary event that's outside of normal human experience. In retrospect, that shows us how ignorant and narrow-minded we were, because it turned out that this is not an unusual experience at all. People usually think about the military when they talk about trauma, but at least 1 out of 8 kids in America witness physical violence between their parents. A larger number of kids get beaten very hard by their own caregivers. A very large number of people in general, but women in particular, have sexual experiences that were clearly unwanted and that left them confused and enraged. So, unlike what we first thought, trauma is actually extremely common. There's a lot of debate of what a trauma is to this day. But basically, trauma is something that happens to you that makes you so upset that it overwhelms you. There is nothing you can do to stave off the inevitable. You basically collapse in a state of confusion, maybe rage, because you are unable to function in the face of this particular threat. But the trauma is not the event that happens. The trauma is how you respond to it. One of the largest mitigating factors against getting traumatized is who is there for you at that particular time. When, as a kid, you get bitten by a dog, it's really very scary and very nasty. But if your parents pick you up and say, "Oh, I see that you're really in bad shape, let me help you," that dog bite doesn't become a big issue because the foundation of your safety has not been destroyed. We are profoundly interdependent people. And as long as our relationships are intact, by and large, we're pretty good with trauma. It's a subjective experience, and what may be traumatic for you may not be traumatic for me, depending on our personality and our prior experiences. The problem with trauma is that it starts off with something that happens to us, but that's not where it stops, because it changes your brain. Much of the imprint of trauma is in that very primitive survival part of your brain that I like to call the cockroach brain. There's a part of you that just picks up what's dangerous and what's safe. And when you're traumatized, that little part of your brain, which is usually very quiet, continues to just send messages. I'm in danger. I'm not safe. That event itself is over, but you continue to react to things as if you're in danger. We're talking about survival. We're talking about staying alive. And so some people are into fight flight, or on a more primitive level, people's brain shuts down and they collapse. You have these automatic responses that are not a product of your cognitive assessment, they're a product of your animal brain trying to stay alive in the face of something that that part of your brain interprets as a life threat. And the problem then becomes that you are not able to engage or to learn or to see other people's point of view or to coordinate your feelings with your thinking. Traumatized people have a tremendous problem experiencing pleasure and joy. But the core issue is our hormones and our physiological impulses that have to do with survival. Your body keeps mobilizing itself to fight. You have all kinds of immunological abnormalities, endocrine abnormalities, and that really devastates your physical health also. Oftentimes the physical problems are longer lasting than the mental problems. And the other thing that is terribly important is the impact of poverty, or the impact of racism, or the impact of unemployment. There's other societies that are much more trauma savvy than we are, where there is not an enormous amount of income inequality. Healthcare is universal, childcare is universal. A culture like that really looks at what are the antecedents for certain forms of pathology. So the big issue is a political issue. How do we rearrange our society to really know about trauma so that people who grow up under extreme adverse conditions can become full-fledged members of society? The sense of community and people being there for each other is a critical part of surviving and thriving.
I know there are moments that you have resonated with what he had to say. But ultimately, when it comes to trauma, is that many of us have faced it. Many of us have dealt with it. Many of us possibly deal with it. How do we deal with it? Because I'm not sure if you noticed that it said it's something that happens to us that overwhelms us. And then our response to what happened to us. And the other thing is, who is there to console or to care for us? Extraordinary events and experiences. So imagine when we say religious trauma, what are we talking about? Imagine when we say relationship, having support and being able to recognize, realize, and work through our trauma into change, transition, transformation. Makes me pause. It makes me take a breath, and I want everyone to do that. Mirroring. I speak and I do things because I believe that the energy that I have in this space at this time is a frequency. And I push this frequency to you so that it can settle with you and set in with you, because I know that you know there's experiences and things that you have experienced that are coming to surface. And the more we can be honest with ourselves, can you be honest with yourself? Can you be honest with yourself and say, I'm ready to heal? I am ready to heal. I am healing. In today's world, we have tools, support systems, and things that can aid our recovery. And we'll talk about some of those things. But one of the things that I am very intrigued with is when we talk about trauma and we talk about our experiences and we look to go deeper within to connect to the higher self, to realize and wake up and see these things. What is one thing that we can't truly escape? If we are able to be open and honest, and that is realizing and understanding what consciousness is. Many of you know me because of my work with Bishop Carlton Pearson. And as we and he would speak on the expanded consciousness. And when we say expanding, it is within us. And I believe the expanded consciousness is beyond us. And it is done. It is finished. It is not in this time or space. And we can move and go and operate as we have things revealed unto us, such as our traumas. I think some of the things we may have to go see someone, talk to someone, or find tools that can help better us. But let's explore and let's get an opinion or someone's take, the TED Talk, on what consciousness is.
Here are two images of a house. There's one obvious difference, but to this patient, P.S., they looked completely identical. P.S. had suffered a stroke that damaged the right side of her brain, leaving her unaware of everything on her left side. But though she could discern no difference between the houses, when researchers asked her which she would prefer to live in, she chose the house that wasn't burning. Not once, but again and again. P.S.'s brain was still processing information from her whole field of vision. She could see both images and tell the difference between them. She just didn't know it. If someone threw a ball at her left side, she might duck, but she wouldn't have any awareness of the ball or any idea why she ducked. P.S.'s condition, known as hemispatial neglect, reveals an important distinction between the brain's processing of information and our experience of that processing. That experience is what we call consciousness. We are conscious of both the external world and our internal selves. We are aware of an image in much the same way we are aware of ourselves looking at an image, or our inner thoughts and emotions. But where does consciousness come from? Scientists, theologians, and philosophers have been trying to get to the bottom of this question for centuries without reaching any consensus. One recent theory is that consciousness is the brain's imperfect picture of its own activity. To understand this theory, it helps to have a clear idea of one important way the brain processes information from our senses. Based on sensory input, it builds models, which are continuously updating simplified descriptions of objects and events in the world. Everything we know is based on these models. They never capture every detail of the things they describe, just enough for the brain to determine appropriate responses. For instance, one model built deep into the visual system codes white light as brightness without color. In reality, white light includes wavelengths that correspond to all the different colors we can see. Our perception of white light is wrong and oversimplified, but good enough for us to function. Likewise, the brain's model of the physical body keeps track of the configuration of our limbs, but not of individual cells or even muscles, because that level of information isn't needed to plan movement. If it didn't have the model keeping track of the body's size, shape, and how it is moving at any moment, we would quickly injure ourselves. The brain also needs models of itself. For example, the brain has the ability to pay attention to specific objects and events. It also controls that focus, shifting it from one thing to another, internal and external, according to our needs. Without the ability to direct our focus, we wouldn't be able to assess threats, finish a meal, or function at all. To control focus effectively, the brain has to construct a model of its own attention. With 86 billion neurons constantly interacting with each other, there's no way the brain's model of its own information processing can be perfectly self-descriptive. But like the body or our conception of white light, it doesn't have to be. Our certainty that we have a metaphysical, subjective experience may come from one of the brain's models, a cut-corner description of what it means to process information in a focused and deep manner. Scientists have already begun trying to figure out how the brain creates that self-model. MRI studies are a promising avenue for pinpointing the networks involved. These studies compare patterns of neural activation when someone is and isn't conscious of a sensory stimulus, like an image. The results show that the areas needed for visual processing are activated whether or not the participant is aware of the image, but a whole additional network lights up only when they are conscious of seeing the image. Patients with hemispatial neglect, like PS, typically have damage to one particular part of this network. More extensive damage to the network can sometimes lead to a vegetative state with no sign of consciousness. Evidence like this brings us closer to understanding how consciousness is built into the brain, but there's still much more to learn. For instance, the way neurons in the networks related to consciousness compute specific pieces of information is outside the scope of our current technology. As we approach questions of consciousness with science, we'll open new lines of inquiry into human identity. To continue exploring life's big questions, check out
Yes, I understand. It can. We're not even getting seriously deep. It's somewhat surface level, but at the same time, not trying to be too esoterical. Just giving you an understanding and hopefully information that allows for you to pull this in and just get an understanding the complexity yet simplicity, but the complexity of who we are, the complexity of who we are, what we are, and the fact that we can't pinpoint consciousness, but we can pinpoint trauma. Our consciousness, I understand that it is not a part of, it is a part of the body, but it's not the body. It is a part of everything that's within us, but it's a part of everything without us. In order for us to tap and tune into that, it's best for us to get a better understanding of who We are. And sometime it requires for us to do a little bit of basic research. I hear a lot about people talk about research it, go look it up. And the thing is most people are not equipped to do research. What I mean by that, go into a space of doing that are speaking on things exactly what you want to hear. Understand? It's kind of like when people want to watch things about health and they go watch Dr. Sebi. Nothing against God bless him, rest his soul, whatever. The late Dr. Sebi. I'm pretty sure that the guy who wasn't a doctor, he's more like Dr. Dre. I'm pretty sure from what I heard, he had some great health advice, like various things that he could say. But it wasn't everything that he had to say that was just spot on. It's just we like to feel like we're going deep by just listening to things that we want to hear. And I understand that. But to get a good understanding is to be involved with a community, be involved with people, be connected to people that you know are doing something or people that you know are connected. That's the whole point of people when they attend religious organizations is the fact that all the community's there, everybody's there, and everybody is on the same system within the same structure. It worked for him, not for all. Well, of course it worked for him because it was a business, right? I'm not saying what I mean is like there's good things that are out there that you hear, but you want to actually make sure you have a balanced understanding, right, of any information and be able to connect to the individuals or the individual people effectively through community. Because I believe that's where you can find some form of balance. And so to work through our situations, of course, 100% we know that a person should be okay with seeking medical attention or seeking clinical, right? That means there's someone out there that's licensed, someone out there that possibly has credential, depending on the level of that a person would understand the level of effect that you may have. So depending on your emotions and depending on your what you're experiencing and going through, if you're super emotional and crying, or if you can't sleep, or if you feel suicidal, or if you that's harm, right? Harm to yourself, harm to others. These things can go a little deeper and require professional, licensed, credentialed help legally. We're at that point now where the legal system would get involved if you had a cut open wound and your cousin decided to say, I can stitch you up, and you don't get medical attention. Legally, that is against the law. So it goes the same way with an individual's brain. You can't go out helping individual people with trauma. But there's one place that you can and get away with it. There's one place you can. Anybody know what that one place that you can actually do things that you probably shouldn't be doing and get away with it when it comes to trauma? That's it. It's been doing it for years. Yeah, people do social media. Absolutely. Religion. Yep. What does that mean? How long has religion And in America, we say the church, but how long has it had the ability to take something that possibly should be handled by a professional, clinically licensed? It's the reason why a lot of churches deal with scandal. They're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. But yet, though they feel called, they have the authority to do. And they really do have the authority to do it. Because nothing's going to happen to them. Hopefully, things will change, because as we move through our trauma, we can approach and get to the point where we are tapping in and tuning in to our higher self. Understand? Everybody follow. And the higher self is, I believe, is something that not that it just takes time, but it takes a commitment. So to commit to your higher self, to commit to understanding that I may have a past and I may have experiences and I may have dealt with something in my life, and I want to bring some of those things to surface. And I say some because if it gets too deep, you may need to be going somewhere else. But I want to bring these things to surface. I want to bring these things in my life to surface. I want to bring my bad behaviors, things that are causing and blocking me from getting to where I want to be, where I feel called to be, where I feel led to be. And some of us don't even feel led to be where we are called to be because we have been dealing with so much in our lives. One of the things that I believe is that the convergence of science and spirituality, things that we don't understand, things that we speak of, things that cause us to be afraid, things that causes us to run, or things that causes us to go into each different categories. So when we bring up God, when we bring up spirituality, we have to bring up God. And when we bring up God, we start bringing up belief systems. And now we get all fragmented. I was talking to my dear friend Ron, and we talked about we do business consulting and marketing consulting. And the thing about, anybody remember defragging a PC, personal computer? He was out there, remember, defragging a computer. You don't have to defrag anymore. Anyone remember defragging a computer? We used to have to defrag computers because what happens is, as you're working with a computer and hard plates and disk, what happens is that computer is just working, and it's placing files right throughout the computer. It's placing the files throughout the computer. And after so long, after especially about a good year, depending on how hard you're working, you have to come back, and the computer has to, every once in a while, it has ones and zeros, right? And it has all these different, basically, um, uh, organization of file structure. Let's just say that. And what it needs to do is it just needs to line things up, take things and throw things away, realign things, get things all fixed up, right? So that it doesn't have to go over those files that are unnecessary. It doesn't have to come back and review those things that are there that we don't need. Yes, it was terrible. I had to defrag often because tech was horrible back then, right? We had to defrag a lot. We were able to, what's amazing with technology and the convergence of technology, we were able to accomplish and do a lot, even in the era from the era before. But what's happening now is technology is advancing faster than we're able to become conscious of our own selves. I had to let that rest. The technology is moving faster than we are able to be cognizant of who we are. And right now we're getting worried that just because a computer is able to do so much, that we think that the computer is going to become conscious. You know what that tells me? You want to hear it tonight. We believe that the computer is going to become conscious because things like artificial intelligence and the very advancements that we're making. We believe that since all this is happening, that it is separate from who we are. What you're seeing is us. We are not computers. Computers are not human. You just don't know who you are. We just don't know what we're capable of. But the creators of that stuff, they know that we are capable of what they are creating because they're creating it. We just don't know it. Tonight, I want you to embody and embrace the fact that you are beyond a computer. You are beyond technology. We don't know, but artificial intelligence is actually transforming the many aspects of lives. And within healthcare, there are apps and things that are being formed that you can actually model and use without going to a therapist. I was speaking with my oldest daughter, Olivia, who's 18 today, and I was talking to her about artificial intelligence as she was wanting to write some graduation announcements and her thank you cards. And she said, "Do I need to include the gift that they had given me on the card?" I said, I don't necessarily think so. It's just kind of a courtesy to give a thank you card. But you can question ChatGPT." And she said, "I don't want to use that. I'm not using that because I don't want to get used to it. I'm not going to use that because, like, I can get in trouble if I go to school." And all of a sudden, what I seen what has been told to her. I seen these fears about this technology and how this technology is just taking over and you don't want to get used to it and you don't want to blah, 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 blah. Yes, I get it. Social media is very powerful. Technology like we're using tonight is very powerful as we learn to use it and not let it use us. Social media has the ability to change your brain because of the reward system with dopamine, right? Follow me. I want to make sure you guys will follow me. When you go to the casino, push the button, noise, ding, 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 lights, ding, 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 boom, 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 lights, lots of machines everywhere, going, going, going. Somebody back here screaming, I won. This machine going off, winner, winner, winner. They got a car in the middle of the casino, and you can win the car. Follow me. Check this out. What's another place that operates like a casino? What's another place that operates like social media? What's another place that operates that way? The church operates that way, folks. Religion operates that way. The next time you go into a church or the next time you see it, I want you to be very observant when you go into, as she says, the religious institution. I want you to go and I want you to monitor, especially some of the ones that are very emotional, Pentecostalism, evangelicalism. Some of them are fear-based, Mormonism. A lot of them are history. Islam is fairly the same no matter where you go in America specifically. And those are a lot of those are rituals and things you don't want to do in a lot of those organizations based on the fact that nobody else is doing it. But when you start adding keyboards and drums and lights and music and you add like emotion and you add right and you add money, right, you're gonna get this right now. If you go, I went to a friend's concert and it's like the music was incredible because it was his gospel concert. But it was like I was to the side, but I was watching as the host of the show of the concert, was like, "We here to praise God. Are y'all here to do that? Are y'all here to praise God? Are y'all here to do this?" I don't think so. I don't think you're here to do that. I think you're here because God, let's see, it was like God will, um, God, it was pulling from scripture, but God gives praises to his people or something like that, right? And he measures you by your praise. And one of the things, he measures you by your giving. It's amazing how you view it or see it as you become aware, as you become conscious, as you begin to first let the things go and not feel threatened by letting those things go, and to sit back and I still gave an offering because I wanted to do it for the individual person that was there. But I wasn't driven by these individuals telling me that I'm going to that I'm going to be judged or rated by something that I have to believe in within myself and not release to an individual. And I get it. I understand. We've been doing this a long time, folks. How many of y'all out there know that we've been doing this a long time? We've been doing this a long time. We're just now getting to the point where you would have to be in communities like this to wake up and to realize and to connect and to want to make change, want to change something in your life that allows for you to grow and to see who you are. So a lot of times, one of the things and just that I'm saying is that in order, looking at our trauma, looking at our experiences, looking at the things that we have dealt with in our lives, and in order for us to go to a triumph and have transformation, those are the things, some of the things we have to question and say, yes, I realize these things may have happened to me. I'm going to forgive myself. I'm going to forgive individual people for their ignorance or arrogance that has done it to me. And I'm going to take this day, release it, let it go, right? Bring it to forefront. And anybody I've had effect on or other people that I've dealt with, my kids, I'm going to personally within myself, right? Forgive myself so that I can learn to love myself. Deep breaths. The concept of the higher self, the higher self is our true essence. It's a part of you that is wise. It's a part of you that is loving, is a part of you that's connected to the divine. Deep breaths, moving slowly. It guides us towards our highest potential and our most authentic selves. Some may wonder what's the difference between the higher self and the G word, God. I know there may be some distinctions. I will give you that. But fundamentally, it's interconnected. The higher self can be seen as a facet of the divine within us and the spark of the universal consciousness. As we talk about these things, we want to move ourselves into the awareness that that is already here and it is with us. And so if we go into that higher self and we go into the our abilities to connect right now to the universal consciousness. We're all individual threads, right? Individual threads of this vast fabric piece. Each thread is a unique role in a person that is kind of put together in a beautiful, intricate way. But as this all comes together, this is a beautiful tapestry. Ecology. I'm into transpersonal ecology, right? How the spiritual essence and the beings of who we are, from the science of us to the spiritual side of us, through the spiritual side of everything that's within, outside of us, even those who are. I know you're experiencing some hot weather throughout the whole entire country right now, but connecting to our higher selves. As we all connect, do you know that that we contribute to the growth and the evolution and this collective fabric, this which we would say the collective consciousness? We must become more aligned with the true purpose and the capableness of compassion, our great compassion, creativity, love. Connecting to your higher self as we move and we recognize and realize these traumas that we may have experienced in our lives, right? What we may have experienced. And in a minute, I'll talk a little bit more about like technology, which I already have, but we talk about like the technology that's out. This is going to support us on our healing journey. As we learn to move into the next evolution of this, this has all been pushed on us and come on us so quick and so hard and so fast. And as my kids say, the old heads, right? We just talk bad about it. They get abused with it. But the makers are truly understanding it and they're programming it and they're using us to program it. And we're not able to take advantage of it to advance us as a species. But guess what? I believe that we can, and I believe that we will. And it's going to start with you. It's starting right here, right now. Because within me and within this community, we'll dive into the concepts of the higher self and the connection to the divine, but also those things should lead us to the knowingness of being able to use the spirit and the essence and the greatness of who we are as the computer that not the being that has created the computer. Understand, we will navigate this age of AI and rapid change, and we'll embrace these tools available to us while while we stay grounded in our spiritual practices and our communities and our development of who we are and our research as we have to remain and putting ourselves in a higher position, a higher state of mind, where when we go to bed, as I talked about last week, when we go to bed, that we're going to go to bed with a higher state of mind and washing and letting the day go. How many of y'all did that when I was talking about that last week? When you go to bed, you wash and let the day go, and you go to bed in peace and in love. You push everything down and you fake it if you got to, and say, nope. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, higher self. Thank you, higher mind. Everything is as it should be because I'm moving and operating in the presence of the divine self. And as I transition in this moment and I go to bed and I lay my head down, I want all the thoughts and all the knowledge and all the things that is within me to be merged with the divineness and the love of the self and the love of God that is here on this planet, so that I can complete my mission. I can say good, what is it? Is it good done, faithful servant? It's just kind of skipping me, right? Well done, thy good and faithful servant is what you would hear in scripture. And my thing is like, I could say, well done. Well done. Tell yourself, well done at the end of the day. Yes, I might have made a mistake. Yes, I might have did this. I will and need to fix this, but I'm going to say, well done this day. I can't take my time back. Time is not money. Time is time. We make it and turn time into money. Time is time. We just can't get it back from off of these bodies. As we progress in these bodies, it's over, folks. Your body is just here doing what it's doing. Now it's time for us to embrace and embody the higher self within the self now and today. Y'all following? Y'all with me? Who's with me? Who's with me that wants to take themselves to the next level in this life? Who's with me that really wants to heal and be transformed by the renewing of the mind? Transform that trauma and grow and contribute to a brighter future as we all come together. And as you sit here, and I appreciate that you are here, but that's just me and my ego. Although I do appreciate it. But the thing is I just want to work as the vessel and be able to express and build and do for this moment in time. Where would we be if we didn't have the books and we didn't have the people that decided to write, or people that decided to do something to leave a legacy, to leave something that allows other people to think and grow? So it is upon everyone that is in the sound of my voice to wake up, to realize that you have nothing to fear about technology. It's more of the fear of what is in us and what we are not doing with us as us, what we are capable of doing as ourselves. Do you know that you're capable of doing more than what technology has done, because technology needs for you to use it. Everybody that's tapped in and tuned in right now to what I'm saying are using technology to better themselves. Y'all with me? We're on this healing journey. You are not alone. Let's stay connected. Let's stay mindful. Let's walk in peace. Let's walk in love. Let's embrace our higher selves. Embrace your higher self. I believe in miracles, right? A miracle is just setups. You with me? A miracle is just a setup. It's a setup for you. A miracle is something that happens that we just don't necessarily believe that it should happen, and it happens. Here we go. Transformations and breakthroughs. The miracles that are happening, that will happen, that are going to happen. It begins right now in accepting and acknowledging possibly the traumas and things that we've been through. But taking it in today. The transformation is here. Deep breath in your nose. Deep, 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 deep. Go deep. Go deep. Go deep. Go deep, deep, deep. That means you're just pulling up deep as you can, and you hold that in honor of your body, in honor of your breath. Say yes. We're embracing who we are. We're embracing our trauma. As they say, from the crown of the head to the sole of your feet, you're going to release that air and push it all out. And you're going to hold it. 1, 2, 3. You might feel the pressure and you might feel the pain. 4, 5. If you got to take it in, push to the edge and just pull in. And we just take this moment in time as we know that we're using emotional tools. We're using the body and the mind. You are not technology. You are a human, and you are a being. The being side of you is far greater than anything that you've ever been told. Know it. Live it. Be it. Deep breath in. Rise as we raise the frequency, raise the vibration. Everything is as it should be. Peace be with you. And release. Sometimes you just have to be. Take a moment just to be. Be still. Instead of letting the organizations and churches and things like that just use these tools to manipulate you, you use them for yourself to go within, pull out creativity. I speak to your creativity. I speak to your ideas. I speak to your healing. Everyone needs to be healed in some kind of way as we go through the experience of the body. But I speak to even the telomeres, strands of your DNA, that they be lengthened based on what you believe about you. Your age is just experience. Reaching and going and moving into your higher self is a matter of letting go, allowing, and being. Any issues that you've had this day, we want to let those go just for this moment. Bills that are due, we want to let it go for this moment. Issues, anything in life, we want to let it go for just this one moment. And to be at peace and to be healed and to be set free of all aspects of life, just so that you know and you can reach and you can connect to the higher self, the frequency and the tones of the everlasting love, the everlasting love. Transformation is here. We are reaching to the higher self, the higher mind, through the request of our souls. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be another version of you. Thank you so much. Ooh. I feel every one of you in spirit. I'm here to tell you that there's a lot of times there's nothing you can do. Yes, my heart deeply goes out to anyone that is dying and losing their life because of the consciousness of other individuals that are dealing with deep trauma. Wars to genocides that are happening throughout this world are because of deep seated trauma and religious beliefs and personal beliefs and ancestral ties. And we must bear witness in our era and in our time. And the only way we will get through what we are experiencing on the planet as these people are being sacrificed for the states of consciousness, the only thing that will get us through is that we rise in consciousness. And the tools that we have, like technology, is aligned for us to see it, experience it. And it's trauma that's affecting us today. So it's important that you work on the practices of meditation. It's important that you pay attention to your health. It's important that you pay attention to what you eat. It's important that you pay attention to getting rest. Is it important that you raise and go into higher states of consciousness so that you can vibrate the frequency? And we all join through levels of vibration that not all of the world quite understands. But my heart goes out, especially to the kids that are leaving the planet much earlier because people are afraid. We can talk about it, we can fight it, but we can also raise our consciousness. It's time that we raise our consciousness, work through our own issues, tell our own stories. Even if you don't tell a story, even if you don't have nothing to say, even if you don't have anything to produce or be creative with and put out, just you raising your consciousness and joining the others that are doing it is what is necessary. And I believe you might even be doing more of an important role. I appreciate everyone this evening, and I hope you had a wonderful time. Thank you, Mrs. Dorothy, for this message. You are so right. You're on point, staying dedicated and pushing. Yes, there are days that I did, today was one of those days where it's like that's the reason why I didn't get my post up earlier this week. I will get next week's posted because you run into those days where life is just moving and going and going and going with three kids, you know. So I appreciate you for this comment. Um, I have I had some notes. I do this so much, but works best when I move out the way anyway. Allows spirit to take over. part of me. I know that it works out better for you when we all are on one accord. And I have to go back sometime and watch these for sure because I don't know what happened really. Miss Marie says fully connected. Everybody out there, I know still at least 15, 20 people that's still connected right now. Go ahead and leave us a comment on here. Thank you, Instagram. You guys are much appreciated. I'm gonna let you see this on Facebook. It's been operating like that for years. Yes, sir. This is some old comments here that went back up to. I like that, Mr. Christopher. Starts with me. Everyone has a story. Miss Velma says, great lessons today. Thank you, Miss Velma. Miss Lorraine, you're much appreciated. Thank you so much. Love you too. Oh, Miss Cynthia. Yes, Miss Stana. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. You just, as different people you get connected to, especially those who contribute. You contribute a lot more than you know. You really do. Just by showing up, you contribute a lot. Mrs. Mother White, excuse me. Already started on this inner work and issues are popping up. Yes, much indeed. Much indeed. For those of you, next week, I'm going to release. This is Cash App. And what I'm going to do is there's going to be a founders crew, people that is part of the founders crew for this community that will be separate from this. But this is where we'll have interaction with everyone. You'll be able to get more of this, more guided meditations, a whole lot more. I'm going to release all of that next week. It'll probably start out small. But any of those who have already contributed to this work of expanded consciousness, I'll have it in my Cash App, and I automatically know like those who have already contributed, because I've had plenty of people already contribute. So, I mean, it's total. I appreciate you. As they say, don't feel obligated. Anybody that has signed up on this Divine Authentic Self, I'll send an email to that because I have to move forward on this community. This community building, and within this space, it's going to be everybody. It's going to be all of us working together, from religious traumas to, I think you could probably hear some things that's meditations. It's going to be a beautiful thing. And I think also being able to take some of the guests that we have and popping the guests up inside the community so that people can ask those guest questions. Either do a pre-show or post-show with the guests. So there'll be a lot of opportunity and a lot of growth as we all grow. As I make a way so this could be even more of a full-time commitment for myself. So this is beautiful. I love you guys, man. I look forward every day. Yes, thank you. Yes, I love to see. I know there's lots of people that watch that may not comment, but I appreciate you. Oh, thank you so much. Those meditations come from the heart. I lose it sometimes. Oh, you're totally fine. You don't, heck, I enjoy and I feel the presence of individual people and souls. You guys are wonderful people. divineauthenticself.com. That's just a place for you to sign up, and I'll make sure I get an email out. As this is one of my favorite quotes: until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Until you make the unconscious behaviors and things you have going on with your life, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate. We have a comment here on Instagram. Oh, I appreciate this. I struggle with Instagram sometime. And it says here, I needed this on this evening. Nothing like connecting to your family. I have to see who this is. Who carries the energy and vibe needed to carry you on. Yes. So thank you for the tonight. Glad I was able to connect. I'm happy and I'm thankful for you. Mr. Herman J. Yes. Brian Shortoff, I appreciate you. Dion came to the funeral. Bishop Carlton Pearson. He was amazing. Yes, I appreciate everyone that tapped in, tuned in here on social media. Awesome, guys. You know, as they used to say, all minds clear. That's an old church saying. Love you guys. Have a good one.